A lot of people are thinking that silver is going to be the answer for, an economic collapse. I think that's partly true. Partly true. Now, I also stated that if there's going to be real economic collapse, what you really want to be storing up on is food, because you're going to make out the best there for reality. You probably would. Now, I do not want to knock the idea of physical silver, even though as of this moment, it's going down, as far as priced in fiat dollars, and it's probably going to continue to go down. I expected the bottom to be for silver to be here in April. It flatlined for a while, and maybe it's going to continue where the price point I thought it was going to be at, below 26. Maybe it will go down to 25, 24 even. Who knows? But I think that's the final correction period. I do not think that silver actually is your economic answer, though. Actually, I do think most people are probably going to get caught in a trap with this as it goes up, and all the proponents for silver come out of the woodwork and start cheering it on like the banksters on a run. The economy is collapsing. You must buy silver to preserve your wealth. And I think the majority of people probably going to lose out. The smart people are going to win. Quite obviously, I pointed out before, like even Eric Sprott and David Morgan both sold silver on April 28, 2011. I think that was beyond excellent timing. So, sometimes if you're trying to play the markets with this stuff, it's like, you try it, and if you get caught, you're going to have to hold. So I'm holding right now, and I'm not buying anymore. Now, as far as this actually being the economic answer, though, it's not going to have an effect as the way people think, because the metal is basically, well, you can call it a pseudo store of wealth. Actually, gold is a better representation of a store of wealth, because in silver, the price is too volatile, so it's not as good a store of wealth in some ways for that reason. But I know the stories about, physical silver running out and stuff. But, if the price does get way up there, and fundamentally and all this type of stuff, what's going to happen is you're going to have demand destruction, and you're going to bring in other metals and different ways to do something without silver. Like, for instance, already mirrors are starting to be more using aluminum with, or there may be less silver used in electronic components. Maybe it'll be a copper with a slight, spray of silver over it or something that's maybe a micron thick or something. I'm just giving an example. But they'll find ways around not using the product if it gets too high in price. Now, there is one product out there that is actually more widely used as a commodity than silver, and that is crude oil. Now, that's the commodity I have a beef with, that we can actually fight the elite very well by switching crude oil for another product called hemp. Now, this is a silver hemp or marijuana leaf. So, to make the association, but it's good as silver, or it's better than silver, actually. Yes, I know you can't carry it around in your pocket. Well, I guess you really can't carry it around in your pocket because it's illegal to do so, but it's not practical to carry it around in your pocket as money, even though at one point in time in this country it was money, and it was even used to pay taxes with. So, but I want to point out that this can replace the one product out there that is the real problem that's against the common man, and that is crude oil. Crude oil is basically, that's always been this way. It's been in the hands of the elite. Back at the turn of the century, they're fighting that big monster called Standard Oil, and they finally broke them up. But they broke up the monopoly, but they didn't break up the crude oil still being produced for products like that. In other words, crude oil could have been replaced with gasoline from hemp, oils from hemp. It could have been replaced. That would have been a way to really break it up. And that is one thing I think will give power back to the common man more than anything, is this plant being grown. And the more it's brought out there, they can't ignore it. But there's always going to be something. There's always going to be something, because even if this got going, there's like very smart people always try to find different twists on everything and argue different things different ways. That's really what it comes down to. And the people that are in the entrenched power are good at throwing snake oil out there, whereas people are basically on a fighting them. They're basically looking at them like they're trying to reason with these people, and actually you shouldn't be trying to reason with them in a true sense. It's a matter of they know the truth, and you really need to actually spread the word and just point out just what the elite are doing to the common people. So I want to point out, well, this is Phoenix Tears, but let me point out first about industrial hemp. Industrial hemp, like I stated before, can be used for fuel. It'll produce almost 10 times as much gasoline from industrial hemp as we are getting from corn. It grows faster. It grows with much less fertilizer, hardly, if any, pesticides, and no herbicides whatsoever. So it's a great product. We don't use it because, well, in reality, it's not just because of the Drug Enforcement Agency. It's because of the oil industry. They push these laws, and industrial hemp has no THC in it, like a ridiculously small amount. There's no actual value in it as far as getting high. You could not possibly use this to try to get high off of, because the THC has actually been practically taken out of the product through strains that were developed by the French years ago. So there's absolutely no drug use involved in this whatsoever. It could just be grown for fuel. And it's far more efficient than corn. It could actually bring us out of the realm of the Middle East, and we would not be able to be having a problem with messing around in the Middle East on anything, because we wouldn't need their oil. It would also solve the global warming problem and all this type of stuff, and it actually emits much less pollution than standard gasoline, which has a number of poisonous additives to it. Alcohol from farm products burns much, much, much cleaner. And this was known for like 100 years practically now. And it's not a matter of trying to educate people. It's a matter of trying to educate the lemmings and get them to act. That's really what it comes down to. But the elite, and including the elite alternative media, well, I'll call them that, the elite alternative media, like, Alex Jones or Max Kaiser or Lindsey Williams or whatever the hell they are. They look like the little people, but, I just don't think they're very truly honest, to tell you the truth, despite their sales pitch, the way they come off. I don't really buy it. Because, one thing I would like to put up to people many times is, something like this is a true alternative that could bypass 90% of the problems out there. Like, in other words, our food shortage, the energy shortage, the problems with pollution and different things like that. It would solve all these problems. They know this, and they don't mention it. Now, for food, hemp is an excellent food source. It provides nearly complete nutrition. The seed is over 30% protein. Actually, sometimes it's almost 50% protein. It's actually a far superior protein than soy, and it's a very easily digested protein. So it's an excellent source of protein. Also, it's an excellent source of essential fatty acids, but it's even superior to flax oil because it has the right mixture of fatty acids. It actually has the right balance that the human body needs. So it's excellent food all the way. Body care. Now, a lot of times they have it's added to skin products. You're actually starting to see these in some of the common stores like Walmart. They'll have hemp shampoo, hemp lotion, and stuff like that that contains some amount of hemp in it. And, at least it's getting out in that way a little bit. But not much, not much. We can actually be using this far more than we are today. This could be one of the main functions in diet and everything. Fiber. Hemp is among the longest, strongest, and most elastic and most durable fibers in nature. Now, I know there's some things that are drawbacks about hemp. It can rot maybe eventually. It doesn't rot that easily, though. But the thing is, this is my contention. Now, I wouldn't know this scientifically, but I have a very strong suspicion. With all the developments they have out there in plastics and chemical industry, I'm sure hemp can be treated to make it stronger, last longer, more resistant to maybe, there's a lot of things like nylon that are no good in ultraviolet light, but hemp, you can even make it more resistant to ultraviolet light, rotting and different things by certain treatments. I would almost guarantee you there's stuff out there, but the main material would be hemp, which would be grown. Now, the point is, what I'm saying is, see, this industry, almost anybody can get into. See, that's the thing. You kill it where you don't have an exclusive industry. Oil industry, you got to have a oil rig. You got to have drilling equipment. You got to go through the EPA. You got to do geological studies. Hemp, you throw it in the ground, damn thing grows. It's done in 4 months. They pick it up, they process it. In the next step, do it again, right? And the other thing is, as far as the fuel that you get out of it is greatly way over what you normally get out of corn. Now, Henry Ford intended his cars to run off of agricultural products, basically fermented agricultural products. Hemp would have been about the best one going. That was the actual widespread belief back in the 20s. Also, Rudolph Diesel intended his car to run off of vegetable oil, but mainly hemp oil. It was actually designed for hemp oil. It could run off of peanut oil, vegetable oil, but it was mainly for hemp oil. Rudolph Diesel, he was murdered under mysterious, strange circumstances. Basically, he was on a boat, and then he was in his room, and then he's in the water. That kind of garbage. And, he was trying to promote his product. Now, the diesel engine probably would have been the one to do versus the gasoline engine by far, because it would have been 3 times the life, lower transportation costs. Now, that's not an individual. Lower transportation costs mean lower prices of all goods, because all goods are trucked back and forth the country. Now, using diesel from crude oil is actually far more expensive that can be made from hemp oil. The problem is, hemp oil is not grown here. We got plenty of area to grow it, especially like in states like Florida. This whole state can be filled with this product left and right. And the whole Southwest could be energy independent, as far as I know. Now, that would solve the problem of the energy problem and what us getting involved in the Middle East and all the garbage that goes on over there. Building materials, hemp can make most building materials, including caulking, cement, fiberboard, flooring, insulation, paneling, particle board, plaster, plywood. Now, it doesn't really make the main structural components of the building, but it actually is a pretty strong building component. They make a particular type of hempcrete out of it by combining lime air-based binders with chopped core of hemp plant stem. Now, that is pretty strong stuff, but it's not like the main structural component of the wall, but it actually does provide some strength to the wall. But it also will work as a super strong, super good insulator, and also for heating and cooling, and also sound insulation. So it's very good for that way. In other words, also they make cars out of hemp. Actually, Henry Ford made a car out of it in 1941. He also did back the original cars. He didn't even want to make them out of steel. He was originally going to make cars out of hemp, and that would have been an idea. So hemp seed oil can also be used as fuel to drive cars. I mentioned this before. That was where the diesel engine was going to be actually used to do. And the environment, it's super good on the environment, quite obviously, because you're growing something to manufacture something. You're actually reversing the so-called greenhouse gas effect, which I think is a bunch of garbage, to tell you the truth. Now, it also can be used for paper, but it can also be used for clothing. Clothing, it's far superior. Hemp is far superior than cotton by many times. It'll last. Hemp clothing will outlast many cotton cloth by 10 times. Now, another use for, well, not just hemp, but let's get on the subject of marijuana. Talking actual high THC marijuana that's used in, it's also used for recreational drug reuse, but also it can be made to produce a medicinal cannabis oil. And, I never smoked marijuana, never, but big deal, But I know it's not addictive as people say, and it should not be classified as the drug it is, because that actually is just a classification that is brought about by the medical industry. Because cannabis back in the 1800s was widely popular in a lot of medicines out there to cure a number of ailments besides cancer. It actually works on a number of ailments. Now, I know they got an individual right here. It's like, this guy, I would probably say he's extremely honest on this video here that is on phoenixtears.ca. But, sometimes people get turned off by people who have a beard. It's almost like you have to have the corporate image with the tie and, the white shirt and groomed like, the usual newscaster is, that type of deal. And, people will pay attention better or whatever. Or, it's sometimes, I don't want to criticize this guy, but sometimes I wonder, like, the presentation, you want to have it more for a, wider audience out there for, to get the message across. But I do want to actually state, though, that this medicinal marijuana oil is something that is extremely useful for curing cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, a lot of different things. And it actually has no problems where it's going to harm anybody. That's the main thing. Everything out there that's a pharmaceutical drug has killed people, including harmless, supposedly harmless aspirin. You could take too much aspirin, you could die from it. In the case of hemp, it's about as harmless as anything out there. But they're not going to allow it because it works and because it comes from nature. Now, what I think people should get behind more is, if you want power to the people, do it through hemp, industrial hemp, and medicinal marijuana oil. Keep the silver fine. But if you want to get somebody economically autonomous at a more individual level, do it through industrial hemp. You grow this product. Basically, that is why people were more independent back at the turn, at the turn of the century, and also when this country was formed. People were more farmers. People put that profession down, but to tell you the truth, if you're growing something that is not just food, but you're growing energy, you're growing clothes, you're growing building materials, you're growing things that will replace plastics, and you're growing medicine, well, I guess you pretty much covered most of the commodities out there. As a matter of fact, hemp and medicinal marijuana will far outstrip crude oil in usefulness. Far outstrip it. And our money supply can actually be based upon that commodity. That would be a twist. But if you're looking at a money supply that's electronic or paper or whatever, I pointed this out before. It's not even so bad that the money supply is paper or electronic. The worst part is that it's controlled by a cartel of banks called the Federal Reserve that is not under the control of the people or the Congress the way it should be. That really is the key. That really is the key more than anything. If you issued, I'm going to bring this up a little bit here at the end, if you issued paper money and it came from the Congress and it was debt-free, keyword debt-free, no interest attached to it, it just gets circulated in the system, that could work well. It's the fact that they took it out of the hands of the Congress, and it rises in the form of a loan. That really is what the key to what's going on. I had to interject that a little bit at the end. It's not exactly about gold so much too. But if you really want to put back the power to the people, make industrial hemp. a viable commodity in this country, and medicinal marijuana. Just keep pushing it and keep throwing it up to the faces of the so-called major alternative media, because I think they are controlled by the actual power elite. I think they are. So, but keep bringing it up to Alex Jones too, because basically, if you have industrial hemp, you don't need to go to the Middle East, do you? Do you? You don't have to bother with that at all, do you? That's one big problem. So why discuss all this garbage? Let's just be energy independent. It can be done very easily.